Hello, everyone. We are here with Alessandra Conti, and she is a celebrity matchmaker in Beverly Hills, and she works with celebrities, young professionals, and leads a team of matchmakers, so responsible for hundreds of beautiful marriages. Welcome, Alessandra. How are you today?
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here, Rena. I'm so glad that we're doing this.
Yes. I'm super excited to be chatting with you. I know, so we connected through super random, but like the youth leadership conference called Hobie, and so they actually asked a few people to have like lunch with all the leaders there, the youth, and it was so like I just love that you were willing to do that. I don't know, like it's such such a different career, I feel, or a unique career that so I love that you gave some time and
Oh
shared.
my gosh, no, it's literally those things are my favorite things to do. I remember when I was in high school, I did all of the leadership organizations that
Yeah.
I could possibly do because I was like in, from a small town and just like, oh my goodness, I want to do so much.
Yeah.
So I remember going and always being so inspired. So literally any opportunity that I can to just, especially with young women, and
Mhm.
young men too, but I think that like my heart is women
Mm.
empowerment and just
Mhm.
supporting women and encouraging them to follow their passions that can then yield a really incredible career.
Yeah. And so share a little bit about like where you grew up. Did you see yourself becoming like, was this like what you wanted to do when you grew up?
Yeah, absolutely. So my story it involves my sister. My sister and I grew up in a small town right outside of New York City, and we grew up in a town where it was very suburban, very traditional, and there was very little to do in our small town. And from an incredibly young age, we
Mhm.
always set up our friends. So we refer to ourselves as like sandbox matchmakers
Oh my
because
God.
we've been matchmaking since like before it was socially acceptable to set up our friends.
Yeah.
And so we just would literally be the social butterflies of our town. So when bar mitzvahs came up, we would be the ones, bringing how when you like any middle school dances or bar mitzvahs, anything like that, there's always like the boys on one side and the girls on the
Yeah.
other. So my sister and I would be the ones that were like bringing Jessica to meet Jeremy
Oh my
or
gosh. Yeah.
just bringing the boys to meet the girls. And then when prom came about, we would set up all of our friends and we would also throw these big parties and we
Mhm.
would invite the all boys school and we would invite all of our girlfriends and we would throw these theme parties. We even did like a Victoria's Secret theme party, which is like
Oh my
hyper
gosh.
inappropriate. But back in the early
Yeah.
2000s, like that wasn't inappropriate. But
Mhm.
like looking back, I'm like, oh my goodness, that is
Yeah.
horrifically inappropriate. So, but anyway, we would then introduce our guy friends to our girlfriends. And
Mhm.
so we just always set up our friends for fun. And then once college rolled around, I went to school at American University in Washington, D.C., which, oh my gosh, what a fabulous experience. And
Okay.
then, yeah, my sister went to school she was getting her master's at Oxford. So we were graduating, even though she's older than me.
Mhm.
Um, we were graduating from both of our programs at the same time. And
Mhm.
that's when we would talk every day and we would say, how amazing would it be to just move to Los Angeles, move to Beverly Hills and start a matchmaking company.
Yeah.
So when she graduated with her master's, I graduated undergrad. That's exactly what we did. And we moved to LA and we knew no one. We only knew what we saw on the hills.
Oh my
So,
God. Yeah.
the TV show The Hills with like
Yes.
Lauren Conrad and Audrina just wrote a book to now it's like the biggest news lately.
Yeah.
So we though, literally we had the only point of comparison for life that we had was what we saw in the movies and also most, realistically what we saw in the
Mhm.
hills. So we immediately we said, okay, well, where did the girls from the hills live? They lived it's this place called the Villas at Park La Brea, not Park La Brea, but the Villas.
Yeah, yeah.
So we were like, done. That's where we'll live. So we got the apartment that the girls from the hills had, and we started our matchmaking company. So we
Um,
were able to do that because all through college, I babysat and I saved my money. Like I ended up
mhm.
saving $10,000 of babysitting money. And to me, that was all the money in the world. And that became the seed funding and how we were able to move to LA and start our matchmaking company. So for any younger people or even people that are wanting to start a business, what is the first piece of advice that I would give? It's to save a substantial amount of money so that you are good for a couple months while you begin your company. And that was really how we were able to start everything and just feel comfortable, but
Mhm.
still, I mean, $10,000 goes in a
Yeah.
snap of a finger. But sorry, Red, I feel like I'm kind of monologuing here
No,
about the
no.
origin,
Well, yeah,
our
we
little
need the
origin
whole
story.
context of how this beautiful business came to be.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
and how what are your roles like for both of you?
Totally. So when we hit the ground running and we did everything and we just had a healthy sense of entitlement. We created a business plan and we were like, oh, we're amazing matchmakers. We've always set up our friends for fun. This is such an obvious, like, done. I love
Mhm.
business. Christina loves business. So that's how we started. And we started with we kind of selected the different tiers of membership and we
Mhm.
made one of them low, like super low, especially for the matchmaking world. But we didn't know at that time. We thought it was all high. Like anything
Mhm.
we were like, oh my goodness, who would pay this?
Yeah.
Because we were so young. So we set our pricing that 10,000 would be the highest level ever. And we're like, nobody's going to choose that, but let's put that there.
Mhm.
We didn't know. Now, I mean, 10 years later, that's our lower tier
Oh, wow,
membership
yeah.
where people enter as a priority membership. We do have $100 memberships too, just to be a part of the database. But back then we were like, okay, that will be our highest level of
Yeah.
membership. Then we did a mid-tier membership, which was 5,000. We're like, okay, most people will do the 5K. And then we did like 1,800 or something like that. We're like,
Uh-huh.
okay, a lot of people will probably land between those two.
Yeah.
But our very first client selected our priority, like the top membership, the $10,000 membership. So
They were like,
that,
we need you.
yes. And that
Yeah.
was how we really realized how desperately people
Mm.
needed a personal matchmaking in their lives. And I mean, now, we began and we got the second we got our first client, we're like, we need an office. So our first office was this little office in the middle of Beverly Hills on South Santa Monica and Roxbury. And then over the years, we just grew incredibly organically. So we
Mhm.
then started hiring matchmakers.
Mhm.
So now we have a team of 7 matchmakers. We actually just
Mhm.
hired an 8th, which is super exciting.
Nice,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's phenomenal.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I mean, in terms of my role now, it's really cool because I still do a lot of
Mhm.
matchmaking suggesting, but I also do a lot of media and a lot of
Mhm.
kind of those fun elements of the job.
Mhm.
So I'm on Access Hollywood a lot as the celebrity matchmaker for them. I was a matchmaker for 2 seasons of MTV's Are You the One, which was really fun. And just so many different kind of media things. And also, I know that it sounds, like such a difficult, place for me to be, but I go to events a lot and I'm out all the time
Yeah.
because I'm constantly like, we don't advertise. Every
Yeah.
client that we're getting is based on social proof and it's based on word of mouth, based on media, based on press, and also based on just being out and about in LA.
Yeah.
So it's also, I'm lucky because being out and like going to different events, like I was at the ESPYs last week. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah,
I
that's
love meeting
amazing.
people. So
Yeah, you're literally doing like you get paid for doing what you love to do. And I'm sure you're like, I
yes,
can't believe like I get paid to do this. And so that's so cool.
100%.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
amazing. And
Yeah. And yeah. Yeah.
what were you gonna
No,
say?
and no, yeah. I mean, and it's great because a lot of times, like when we're out and about, we're scouting. So it's
Yeah.
not even that we're like hunting for clients. We're more scouting for daters to introduce our clients to. So a lot of times, like, a
Yeah,
woman
I
will
was
come
gonna ask like
in.
how does that process work? Um like what are you what do you look for in scouting and how do you
Yeah.
get them into your database?
Yeah. So, well, we're also lucky because it has been 10 years at this point.
Yeah.
So, early days, we had to be out every night of the week. Like we
Wow.
were, oh my goodness. And that's, I mean, when you're 21, like
I know.
you're so young, you have so much energy. I mean, I still have energy now,
Yeah.
but not, I mean, definitely not like my 21-year-old self.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, so nowadays, like we do get a lot of submissions of people that apply. Either they saw us on social media or they read about us in an article, or they just found us on Google or the website or whatever. So matchmakersinthecity.com is our like just kind of landing point. And they apply through the website for free. And then we have a matchmaker meet with them and see, talk about different options of membership with us and go through all
Mm.
the different tiers and or if they just want to be in the database, which is, I mean, this is the thing also, like I have a really cool role in that also a part of my role is that I get tapped when there are bigger name clients. And so
Mm.
I have while most of the clients at Matchmakers in the City work with a team of matchmakers,
Mhm.
I work with a lot of the celebrities or the just public figures or bigger names in
Mhm.
a private context, still as an offshoot of Matchmakers in the City, but they are like I'm their personal matchmaker. So it's a cool, like it's really cool because I get, and I'm
I mean, and that's
also,
like you get very personal with them. I mean,
oh my God, so
yeah.
personal, so
But you
personal.
can't really, I'm sure you
Oh,
signed like an NDA, like you can't
yeah.
really like put out there who you're working with, right?
Our NDAs are ironclad. Like I have signed a $3 million NDA before.
Oh
So
my God.
I can't even like, I
You're
wish
like, I
I
can't
could.
even say, breathe, nothing. Yeah, no, I'm sure. I mean,
Yeah,
and
it's
well, like
crazy.
respect, like just of course, like it's if anybody who's
Yeah.
not a celebrity is like pretty like, hey, that's my personal life, like
Exactly.
and celebrities even
Yeah.
more.
No, exactly. I mean, and I think the cool part about Matchmakers in the City is that we treat all of our clients like they're celebrity
Yeah,
clients. Like all of them to me, genuinely, like they're like VIPs,
yeah,
like
yeah.
any of our clients. And we work with a lot of young professionals, a lot of professionals in their 30s, a lot of even women and men in their 20s, 30s, 40s, from all different careers, everything from PR to
Mhm.
nurses, to doctors, to attorneys. So while on like, it's fun because the celebrity matchmaker thing is really fun.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm not going to lie and say every celebrity that I work with is fun to work with
Mhm.
because some of them are torture to work
Yeah,
with,
yeah.
but it's okay because I love them and my heart is
Yeah,
like with
yeah.
them and I'm happy
You're like,
to.
we have hope. I have hope.
Yes. 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 So I think like even if there's with love, it's always a roller coaster and love is the great
Oh my God.
equalizer.
Yeah.
So it doesn't like, it's so crazy because if like some of my like star clients, the things that they are asking me about and kind of concerned about, you're like, I'm like, do you know who you are? Like, and you care about this idiot who's like who hasn't texted you in a day? Like, give
Mhm.
me a break. But that's the thing. It's like, it doesn't discriminate. Like this
Yeah.
stuff, this love, attachment styles, You
Yeah.
know, these things do
Yeah.
not
We're all like
discriminate.
human. Yeah. And we all have the
Everyone,
same emotions and like we're nervous or we're,
yes.
yeah, all of those things.
And
Wow.
yeah, and there's this different, yeah, it's all bizarrely similar. Like it's
Love it.
bizarrely similar. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's so cool. Wow. And what would you say, I know you talked to like we wanted to mention how or we wanted to talk about like running a business in the feminine energy. Can you
Yes.
share a little bit more about that?
Oh, totally. So it's so funny because I mean, I think that every woman and every man definitely can tap into, but we'll talk about women specifically right now. But I know, and I can speak for myself, I can tap into my alpha energy, but I
Mhm.
can also tap into my feminine energy. And I have just found that running matchmakers in the city and really any business, like we're women are just told to be, stern and, don't show emotion and don't be overly excited and like
Mhm.
be kind of bring out those very masculine
Mhm.
traits of, okay, you want to succeed in business, you have to be cunning, you have to be like high sales, high
Yeah.
pressure sale, like all this crazy stuff. And that's just has not ever worked for, and I mean, yes, I'm a matchmaker, but I definitely see myself as like a business owner
Yeah.
first because
Yeah.
we're running a business.
Yeah.
And we've just found that the qualities of empathy, um, you know, of being there with the client, like understanding their emotions um, and, being softer with, it with the way that we run everything
Mhm.
and having thick skin and being, having boundaries are really important, but it's
Mhm.
also that just that kind of sprinkling of the feminine of meeting them in a very different way that is like just all about love, all about kindness,
Mhm.
all about affirming, all about like that is when I talk to our matchmakers and I'm kind of like, okay, we have this difficult meeting that you're about to have, but we want to make sure that they know that beyond anything, we're on their team, we support them, we love them, we want them to feel amazing about themselves, we want to build self-love within them
Mhm.
because that's then going to be the best and happiest client, and that's also how they're going to date in the best way.
Mhm.
So that's, I think when I talk about feminine energy, like that's really what I'm talking about, just coming from a place of love and kindness and, killing people with kindness in a way,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
the alternative just doesn't resonate with me and it doesn't work. Like I've
Mhm.
never been one of those people, if, you get a nasty email, to just
Yeah.
reply back nastily. No, like you reply back in the kindest way possible and
Mhm.
try to be solution oriented. It's you guys against the problem, not the problem, not you
Yeah.
versus the person.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that that's what
I
I would
love
say on
that.
like the
Yeah, like
feminine
coming
energy
from a place
element.
of yeah, of like you said, empathy, love, and just kindness and not having we don't have and you've grown your business obviously successfully and like and it's been really like about relationship building too and being like genuine with every person. And I like how you said you treat everybody like a VIP client. Like that's amazing too.
100%. Yeah, I could care
Wow.
less. I mean, obviously I do. I think I'm so in awe of the people that we work with and what they've accomplished. And
Yeah.
also, we're now getting these really young people who are, coming from this new world of like TikTok stardom or just the social media. So and a lot of times they just feel so kind of out to sea and like they don't know, they want to date with intention, they want to date in an old school way, and just giving them that support and that love as they're meeting matches and as they're dating and teaching them about boundaries, about how special that they are, how to date in a way,
Mhm.
dating with dignity and dating with compassion and,
Mhm.
not being super, super judgmental on a first date just because someone's a
Yeah.
little awkward, and knowing that, there's so many elements that we are trying to just help people with,
Yeah.
and
Like the beginning, like
regardless
what
of
do you
age.
want? Even
Yeah.
getting like clear. I think that's step number one. Like what do you want in a partner? Or what are you looking for?
Yeah.
And then going from there. What would you say? I feel like right now, and I heard like a podcast episode that talked about like ghosting, and I think this is like a pretty common thing right now, which is I don't think it's healthy. Like I think people can't. I'm like you should be able to have like a some communication, and at least like how would you say like let's say you don't want to date this person anymore, or like you just you're not like that, like you still respect them, but like how would you recommend somebody to do that
Yeah. I mean, I
versus
think,
ghosting and just like
yeah, no, ghosting is, I mean, listen, there are certain situations, because ghosting sometimes is like, if maybe as a woman, if a guy like doesn't reach out for, like, if you think you're being ghosted, he doesn't reach out, then he finally reaches out a month later or something, you do not owe that man a reply. Like, I'm
yeah.
sorry. So I wouldn't classify that as ghosting. I would
Okay.
classify ghosting as, you guys are talking every single day or every other day, or you've been dating regularly, and then all of a sudden you don't hear from him, or all of a sudden you text him something and he doesn't reply. So, or that's for women. Or for men, if they're dating a woman regularly and they're communicating regularly, and then all of a sudden they text her something and she doesn't reply. And again, this is the caveat is, if as the man, because I love like old school gender roles, like that, the dynamic of the man reaching out
Yeah.
a majority of the time, the man is leading the relationship and the woman is receiving, and also though affirming and continuing the
Mm.
conversation like a ping pong.
Mhm.
But ultimately it is the man that is kind of leading and like leading the relationship, or the
Mhm.
masculine energy, if this
Yeah.
is the masculine in the relationship for like the LGBTQ couples.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, I think that a great way, and even as a woman, if you want to preemptively, like if you're like, okay, I went on a date with this guy and he's really sweet, I respect him, I don't see it. Like, I just don't see it for whatever reason. Just literally send that to the person. Say, hey, whatever the name is, um, thank you so much for such an amazing couple dates. I think you're such a cool person. I've enjoyed getting to know you so much. I just don't feel that romantic spark or that romantic chemistry that I know that you're looking for, and I know that I'm
Mhm.
looking for. That said, I think you're awesome and I wish you the absolute best. And, don't hesitate to, like, I'd love to be friends, or even if you don't want to be friends, don't say that. But just be genuine, and just say that to them. And if somebody feels like they're getting ghosted, you can ask a person. You can be like,
Mhm.
hey, like, am I getting ghosted here? Like, I think just it's funny because it's
Just
just
send them
that,
like the ghost emoji question
yeah, like,
mark.
yeah, like, hey, am I getting ghosted? Like, what's
Yeah.
going on? But just like, people are so scared they're like, oh my God, if I say one wrong thing, I'm gonna get ghosted. So I have to be perfect. You
Mm.
don't have to be perfect for the right person. I have so many clients that have said some of the most bizarre and wild things to their partners, and they're together because they were the
Yeah.
right partners for each other. So I think that it does everyone such a disservice if everyone's on their guard trying to be perfect.
Mhm.
So if somebody is like, if you're thinking like, oh my gosh, I've been talking to this person every day and I haven't heard from him today, or it's been like 2 days, or it's been a week and I haven't heard from this person, can I just ask them? Yes, ask them if you're getting
Yeah.
ghosted, and just be like, and then if they say, oh no, I'm super busy, you can say, oh, no worries, I love communicating with you. And yeah, I love receiving your texts. I love receiving your calls. So I was sad when I didn't. And then you can see what ends up happening there if you really want to be with that person. But also, I mean, from what I've learned over 10 years, just working with so many awesome clients that actually want to be in relationships,
Hmm.
if there is kind of when the investigation begins and the text decoding begins,
Mm.
it's usually just, it's like you deserve to not have that level of anxiety when
Mm-hmm.
you're like men are very apparent when they are into you. And they're also like,
Mm-hmm.
if they're confused, that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
And then you should definitely be dating other people, unless obviously you're exclusive. And in that case, that's a conversation to bring up and be like, hey, I feel like, I love a
Mm-hmm.
lot of communication and I don't know that we're on the same page communication wise. Is this something that we can work on? Or is this maybe not a match just because our communication patterns are so different and our needs are different? It's okay to be like, I like to text somebody every day or
Yeah.
whatever. It's okay to
Yeah.
express, your communication desires. But
Yeah.
being upfront and being transparent is like, if you play games, you're going to get games. So
Yeah.
a lot of times girls are like, oh, well, I haven't heard from him, so screw him.
Yeah.
I'm going to do
No.
X, Y, Z. And it never ends well because then you're like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. And then you feel bad and da.
And then
So
it's so draining, to be
it's
honest.
so
And I'm just like, if I'm exhausted with this emotional roller coaster, and then it's like traumatizing. You're like, I
yeah.
want to date because it's so tiring, but it shouldn't be that way, right? And
No, you
yeah,
can
so
get off the
yeah,
ride and then
and
get
be
on a
upfront.
ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is the thing. There are so many incredible men and women that are looking for the same things. So if somebody is looking for a polyamorous situation, there's a whole group of people who are
Trust me,
down.
I've seen it all.
Yes, they are down for polyamory. We do not do that at Matchmakers in the City, not because we judge it. It's just we specialize in monogamy. So if somebody also, there are so many men who are ready for marriage and they're in that chapter of wanting marriage, wanting kids. They're in that chapter. They're wanting a relationship. But there are also a lot of guys that are not at all in
Yeah.
that chapter. They're playing, they're having fun. They're dating. Maybe they weren't very cute in high school or college and they finally are getting a little self-confidence and have a little money that now they're finally like in it and they're in that phase of sowing
Right.
their oats. And that's fine. The problem arises when a woman who is ready, she's like, I'm ready for a relationship. I want to date with the intention of marriage, meets the guy in that chapter or in that phase who is not ready
Yeah.
because men are like avocados and it doesn't matter if you're Beyonce. If you try to slice an avocado before it is ripe,
Mm.
it's disgusting. Like you can't, what are you doing? Like don't touch the avocado before it's ripe. Men are exactly the
I
same.
love that. I love
Yeah, like so
that.
half the battle is getting, and I think this is why matchmaking
Mhm.
is so successful. Like people
Mhm.
don't understand why matchmaking works. And it's because it's not app dating. With app dating, you get all of these men who are in the playing phase, and it makes the playing phase is so easy on the dating apps. So
Mhm.
when you're on the dating apps, you have to date a lot of guys until you meet a guy that, okay, he's relationship minded. He actually is ready. He's ready for a relationship. But you maybe have gone out with, 7 other guys that were not in that phase yet. So poor thing, you're battered, you're traumatized, you're in therapy because you just had like 7 men that
Yeah.
are not ripe avocados.
Mhm.
So then finally you meet this great guy, but then, okay, he's relationship oriented or he's, but then maybe he has other like huge red flags. That's okay. But the problem with dating apps is that again, you kind of go back into that cycle of, kind of F-boy decoding until you find another one that's like, okay, he's like relationship minded.
Yeah.
So with the beautiful part about matchmaking is that we get men who are actually ready for relationships. So we nip all of that other stuff in the bud because we are asking them the hard questions. And
Already, yeah.
especially if a guy comes in, hires a matchmaker, you better believe he is ready. He's like, I'm done. I am done with the dating apps. I hate them. I want to meet an amazing woman. I want to go on adventures. I want to travel with her. I am doing great in my career and I am ready. So that's one of the benefits of working with a matchmaker. And same thing with guys. I mean, for men, they're really lucky because women are just generally, I mean, just the far superior sex. No, I'm just kidding, kind of. But like women are just, it's different for women. Like it's just different for women. Women, you know, it's not so black and white. You know what I mean? It's like there are shades of gray and, you know, but yeah, so for women, matchmaking is amazing. For men, matchmaking is amazing. But I think that's why we have such a high success rate because we're working with people who genuinely want relationships. So yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. So everyone listening, yes, those are your tips. I love that. And what would you say has been like what's your favorite part about like the business that you run and probably the most difficult part about it?
Sure. I'll start with the most difficult part because better to start with negative and then go to positive. So I think that the most difficult part is that we care so much about everyone that we're matchmaking. And we are able to get to know people on a very different level when we're interviewing them. So we're seeing them without the mask, you know, like literally and figuratively now that LA is like masking again. But we're able to genuinely just see the person and we're like, oh my gosh, this person is so incredible because they're not wearing their mask. So then we're making a match based on these people that have showed us their heart. They showed us their values. They showed us their true selves. And when we're matchmaking, yes, of course, they have to be like in the same physical parameters. Yes, this, that, the other. But people, when they go on dates, the mask is on, you know, and this is like not the literal mask, even though like massive, but this is the mask that every human being wears, especially on a first date, that mask is on. And so like everyone has a different dating persona. And if somebody's like amazing and perfect at dating, it's actually a huge red flag because they're probably not great at relationships because they've dated so much and they kind of know all the right things to say and do and da. So but the problem is that I find that like I have had to take a step back when it comes to like date feedback meetings. While I read all of the date feedback forms, I get so sad and upset when two people just don't have a good date or don't connect or misinterpret like something that somebody says or does. And because I'm like, no, he's such a good guy. Like I always want to be like, no, but he's amazing. And he just went on about that because he was nervous because he probably thought like, so. And there's such a lot of times men, if they don't think that a woman is interested, they shut down and then the woman shuts down. So it's just like everybody's shutting down and we're like, don't shut down, you guys, like what? And he's like, oh, but yeah. Then we get to the core of it and it's like, why, what happened? And then we get to the core of it. It's like, well, you know, she made a comment about like liking, you know, guys with blonde hair and like I have brown hair and like, so she clearly doesn't like me. So then his mask went on and then he was like, ah. So all that to say, the drama of date feedback meetings are probably the bane of my existence as a matchmaker. But that's why we have a team that does those meetings. Because otherwise I literally
you are gonna deal with this meeting, not me.
Yes. And if it's me, like I would lose it. So that's why for my clients, I do all of their date feedback meetings. If they're my clients, like if they have hired Alessandra Conti, Celebrity Matchmaker, you better believe I will be on that journey with them. But that is a very high price point because I know the price of my mental stability. But with the other clients who are doing priority memberships, who are in the kind of lower price ranges, they're working with the other matchmakers, and the other matchmakers are so much less sensitive than I am. They're not like, I'm a different level, which is like, but the other matchmakers are and they're so helpful, and they give date coaching and date feedback. And I mean, all the matchmakers are married, except for the exception of like one or two, married and have kids. So they're really able to give
that's good.
Phenomenal.
Like
advice.
there are all of you have been like different, like just situations in your own personal relationship. So that's a good to kind of get some feedback from everybody in different phases. That's
totally. It's so good. It's so good. And we all live, I mean, with the exception of now that we're we just hired an eighth matchmaker. We have two matchmakers that live outside of LA. But other than that, all the other matchmakers live in LA. They've lived in LA, they've dated in LA, and they're on the front lines. It's not like they're not so far removed from being single or from the dating scene, and specifically the LA dating scene, because the LA dating scene is probably one of the most challenging scenes in the world, for sure.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's like, and when you say they're not in LA, they're still in California. They're just not like in the LA area.
Well, we have we have one matchmaker in Tennessee, and then we have my sister. My sister actually moved to Tennessee, unfortunately, but she still runs the company remotely. Like she's remotely running it with me. We're Zooming all day, every day. And then and then we have another matchmaker who is somewhere in the Midwest. She's the new matchmaker that we just hired, but so much because of COVID, so much of our so many of our meetings are virtual meetings now, which is great. But we also have an office in Beverly Hills, and we do client meetings at our office in Beverly Hills, and then we do like I go to work at our office in Brentwood. Like it's Brentwood, West LA. So that's like where my desk is, and like that's where I'm working a majority of the time. And then usually Beverly Hills is booked just to the brim with client meeting for the other matchmakers. But I love going to the Beverly Hills office because it's such a fun experience.
Oh my God.
Meeting the clients. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And kind of going back into our business chat, like I would love to know about more, like, because you've obviously have set some goals for your business, for yourself, and you've accomplished them. Like, how is your goal setting process? Usually, like, do you do it quarterly, and how do you also like daily check in with yourself to accomplish those goals?
Totally. I mean, I think that goal setting is like super important, of course. But I also think that's something that I've learned as a business owner. When we made our business plan, if we tried to follow our business plan to a T, we would be bankrupt. Like when you own a business, every day you have to change the way that you're doing things and you have to adjust, because what you think will be successful a lot of times, or what you think the trajectory will be, a lot of times will not be what's best for the company, or will not be the way that you're monetizing. So early on when we were younger, my vision was matchmakers in the city would be like a dry bar in every city. There would be matchmakers in every single city in the US and London, and great. And you grow and it will be like so wonderful. And matchmaking, how hard could it be? Just get a bunch of, young girls coming out of college who are social butterflies, have them go out, meet people, and match them up. Little did I know how much of a skill matchmaking actually
Mhm.
is. Because it's when we were younger and when we were starting and hiring people, we would hire the fresh out of college, young social butterflies, but they lacked in human understanding. And if they don't have like a psychology background
Mhm.
or even a recruitment background or even a business like acumen or whatever, like
Mhm.
they're going to be horrible.
Yeah.
So we went through a time period that was really challenging where we were hiring these young girls. They were not great. And we would continuously just have to let people go because we were like,
Mhm.
you're making
Mhm.
horrible decisions
Yeah.
and we have to micromanage every element of your job. And this is really hard. So we then had to have like a coming to Jesus moment and be like, we need to hire like genuine matchmakers.
Mm.
We need matchmakers who have been doing this since they were young, like me and my
Mm.
sister. Like we need salt of the earth, natural matchmakers who are actually good and who have experience from other companies because otherwise they don't understand matchmaking. They don't get
Mhm.
it. It's a skill. And so we then made a huge change. And now our team of matchmakers, I can genuinely say is they're a team of the best matchmakers
Mhm.
I've ever met in my life. All of them, with the exception of one, actually, with the exception of two, come from other companies, other matchmaking firms. So they have tons of experience. They all were matchmakers from a very young age. They were all
Wow.
the social butterflies, the connectors, from a very young age. They come with backgrounds from psychology to recruitment, incredible Ivy League universities, like highly intelligent, down to earth. So it's just a very, the matchmaking hiring process is so specific.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like
So
it's not your
yeah,
typical, it's just not your typical job like that you're
yeah,
applying for. It's so you're like a key person and you're affecting
yeah.
people's literal like lives
Yeah,
and
a
emotions.
hundred percent, 100%. So we pivoted. So my goals back then were very different than my goals now. My goals now are so much more of, um, like I want the clients to find love. Like I want them to be happy. I want them to feel empowered. I want every single person that I meet with, like all of my little meetings, even if it doesn't turn into a big client or something like that, I want them to feel so seen, so heard, so valued as a person. Especially with COVID, I think like so many people felt so
Mhm.
isolated and
Oh yeah.
so lonely and anxiety ridden. And if our company can just show, like, just give them love and hear them and see them, that to me is so huge, and help them see how incredible that they are and just all that they've accomplished and feel excited about their life and excited about dating and excited about meeting somebody. Like those are my goals.
Mm.
And of course, financial goals are fabulous, but if I've also learned anything from living in LA and working in Beverly Hills and working with truly like some of the most wealthy human beings in the world, there's a certain point, and I know studies have been done that show this, that there's a certain point of financial like gain. And then that after that, it's like the levels of
Mm.
happiness do not go up all because you're a billionaire.
Mhm.
Like there's so it's not about it cannot be about money. It
Mhm.
cannot be. Obviously, you as a company, you want to continuously, set your goals, meet them, exceed them. But we also learned that we would much rather stay boutique and have successes, have marriages, have babies, for how our clients have babies, than be huge and be like, some of these other massive companies that are not like they're miserable and their clients are not succeeding in their work. So for me, my goal setting I've changed so much from my early 20s to what I wanted. And then now my goal setting daily is like anyone that I'm working with or anybody that I'm meeting, I just want to give them love. I want to make them feel special, make them feel seen, just give them like so much love and support them and let them know that they're not alone. Dating is really challenging, but it can be so much fun. It's all about that mindset shift and just having them, making sure that they feel supported throughout their experience. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's funny though how goals change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. Okay. And I'm curious now because like, how do you practice your own self-care? I feel like usually people's self-care like is going out with friends, but you're always kind of like on the like scouting, or do you know how to like turn that off, or what do you do for yourself?
Yeah, I'm kind of the queen of self-care. Like I'm the queen. I think with anybody that it's just so important to build yourself and to just listen to your body and really pamper yourself and spoil yourself and love bomb yourself and gift yourself and get massages and like go shopping and just, exactly spend time with friends, go to brunches. Also for me, if I'm going out with my girlfriends, I'm not shouting from the rooftop that I'm a matchmaker. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll even lie about what I do. Yeah. Like if
you're like, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I'm in marketing. Like, just if I don't feel like talking about it, because anyone that I meet is like, oh, you're a matchmaker. Oh my God, tell me everything. Oh my God, I'm single and I have to do that. So like, if I'm really unplugging, like I'm just enjoying and I'm just going out. And also I'm really lucky in that my friends have really incredible boundaries. And even when I was younger and everybody was single, now a lot of people are engaged, are getting married or are married. I still do have single friends that I like to try to set them up, but it's a little too close to home. Okay. So like, anyway, so it can be a little challenging. The client,
like, no, do not.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like, cause sometimes like exactly kind of back to, especially with a friend, like truly a friend, you see them, you know them so well. So you're like, oh my gosh, of course this person's going to love you. But then your client meets them and then the client's like, wait, like what? Like, I don't get it. She like barely said anything. And I'm like, what? Like she's the most talkative person ever, but that's because she's like one of my closest friends. So anyway, but I think that like I said, my girlfriends, are really like boundaries are wonderful. I'm also super involved with volunteer work. I'm a new member of Junior League, which is basically like a women's organization for volunteer work. So it's a ton of volunteering. Yeah, Breen, you should definitely do it. I feel like you'd be great. But so it's a social and volunteer organization. I also have my own women's group that I run every Tuesday night, and it's been just so amazing and totally unrelated to work. Like I don't talk about like work most of the time because work, thank goodness for me, is not really a huge problem at this point in my life. It's more of like a beautiful space for me and that I can rest my mind in and just be creative and be positive in. But yeah, so I think those are huge. Like for me, that's my self-care. And I'm such an extrovert. I love being with people. Any chance that I get. Yeah, I love it. But I also have become okay with listening to my body and not pushing myself and booking myself a massage if I feel like it, So those are really important, and having a cheat day every week as well, because otherwise I lose my mind. So
oh my God. What's your cheat now? What's your cheat?
Oh my God, Panda Express. Oh, I know.
I would have never thought like
Panda Express. I know. Like I like to keep it.
chow
Yeah,
mein.
it's like Beverly Hills. I'm like, oh, chicken chow
I
mein,
was
like
like, I don't
Panda
know why, like,
Express.
I was thinking like sushi, like
I
sushi.
know everyone loves sushi in LA. I'm like, give me some panda, give me some orange chicken from Panda Express. That's
Oh
mine.
my gosh, that's so cute. I love that. Um, and
Yeah.
what would you say is your books, any books you recommend or any like
Oh yes.
resources? And they could be like business and for dating too.
100%. I think everyone who is, even if you're in a relationship, read the book Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel something. But Attached is amazing. Marry Him, The Case for Settling for Mr. Some Good Enough, I think, is phenomenal. It's not what you think. It's such a good read, especially for women who are super, super picky, which of course you want to be picky, but it's also important to be picky about values as
Yeah.
opposed to being picky about superficial qualities, like, a guy like having hair or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? And like just superficial qualities. So that's a phenomenal book as well. A book that I'm trying to think for business. Oh my goodness. Like, oh, that's tough. I'm such like a, I'm such a natural, I'm such a natural. I loved when we were starting, like, and also through, I would watch Shark Tank and it just
Okay.
gave me like such, it
Motiv-
gave me like motivation, just like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool. But yeah, I think those would be my two ideal books for men and women to read when it comes to dating. Oh, also, oh my goodness, when I was younger, I loved this book, Why Men Love Bitches by Sherry Argov.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry to say the B word on the
No,
podcast.
it's fine.
But I don't prescribe to everything, but essentially it's just such a great book because it's all about just knowing your worth and just not being a doormat, which I think so many women can just kind of bend over backwards and then they end up breaking. And that's when that's when narcissists come in and, so dealing like kind of setting boundaries really. That book was popular in like the 2012
I
ish.
saw, yeah, I
Yeah.
think I saw it somewhere, and I'm like,
Yeah.
because it's true. Because I've heard some people say like, what people guys like are like bitches, like when you treat them bad. But I don't know. I'm like, I don't want to
So,
treat.
okay, the concept of the book is not to treat a guy badly at
Yeah,
all. It's literally, I think it's just a sparky title just
yeah,
because
yeah,
she wants, like, it's great. It's great. It's great selling. It's not to be mean or to be nasty. It's just
have
literally to have
standards.
standards. Yeah. It's literally like if a guy texts you at like 11, that's like, hey, what are you up to? It's like, you don't have to reply or like or if like it's Friday and the guy's like, hey, what are you up to tonight? Want to go to dinner? Like, no, you have plans. Even if you don't have plans, like, no, like he has to learn that if he wants to see you, you have to plan. And so it's just setting the tone for whatever kind of relationship that you want and just to be treated in a way that you feel empowered and dignified.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love. Yeah, and one of my favorite books is and movie is the Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man
Ah,
by Steve Harvey.
yes,
Oh my
so
God, I love
good.
that movie. That movie cracks me up, but also it's just the book is really good too. And what I like about it, it's like a guy's perspective, which
Yeah,
I think it's important, to get because guys just it's a different brain, different mindset
totally different
and
brain.
understanding. And personally for me, so I have five older sisters, like I don't have brothers, so like
Um,
I don't, you know what I mean? Like I didn't grow up with like a lot. I did, my dad was in my life and like, but I'm not gonna ask my dad like,
yeah, and your
things.
dad's not going to necessarily tell you the real deal on like
Yes.
how men are thinking, why they're acting the way that they
Yeah, like
are,
to him, he's gonna be like,
behavior.
no, don't listen to them, or like, don't, like it's a different. He's a dad, like it's
He's a
more.
dad, of course. Yeah.
So yeah, and I try to ask guy friends but that book is really good too to kind of
Yeah.
understand too. So
Matthew Hussey, Get the Guy as well is awesome. Matthew
okay.
Hussey is a great advocate for women and He's a sweetheart. So yeah, he's great. But yeah, I mean, I think like for me, we've been really blessed in business that it's very natural for us. And like when we just kind of describe what we do and then like that's our sales. You know what I mean? It's like, there's no real sales training or anything because it's kind of like, here's what we do. If we can help you, that's amazing. Like, let's do it. If we can't help you, we'll refer you to another matchmaking company that can, because there are some really good matchmaking companies and also some not great matchmaking companies. And we would rather have them like have an amazing experience with like a real and a great matchmaking company than to be like with a huge kind of, not great company.
Would you say there's like matchmakers for different like let's say ethnicities and things like that? Like, or is it all kind of, they all are open to everything?
Well, there are matchmakers that specialize in different ethnicities. I mean, I know for us, we do everything. But yeah, I know that actually one of our matchmakers came from a company that purely worked with just different ethnicities. So that's awesome. But yeah, I mean, I think like, yeah, there are certain matchmakers that specialize in different communities. I think also more important even than ethnicity is like religion. So I think like there are a lot of like, we have 3 Jewish matchmakers on our team who they don't only work with Jewish men and women, but like they like get it, and they're going to all the Jewish events. I mean, I love going, I'm not Jewish, I'm Catholic, but like, I love going to Jewish events. Yeah, I love them. Like, I love the Jewish community is phenomenal. And they're so supportive of matchmakers because it's just such a part of their culture. So I love working with Jewish men and women. They get it. And they have a really strong value set. That they're just, I really love Jewish clients. Like my heart is like so, but yeah, like I said, I'm Catholic. So, we also work with a lot of Christian, men and women. And like the Christians are also really great because they are like, Jesus is my number one. They're like, I want to date somebody who like the Lord is our shepherd. Like we want to do life together. So like with every community, there are different terms, there are different, and then like the Catholic, like the super Catholic set, that's also a different community because even though they're Christian, it's different than Christian. Like Catholic, a lot of times more conservative or more old school and what they're looking for, more traditional, because the word conservative is like, nobody says it anymore in a positive light, but like more traditional. So yeah. And then the Indian community is awesome. Like they also super very much embrace matchmaking, of course. And there are some really great Indian matchmakers too that we partner with all the time. But yeah, like the different communities, it's fascinating. Like matchmaking,
that is so interesting. Yeah. And at the end of the day, everyone's just trying to find some love.
100%.
And like it's beautiful to see that to kind of but that's very very key to like religion. And I didn't think that was important to me until like you date somebody that like isn't religious, and I'm like, oh no, like so go out there and
totally.
But thank you so much, Alessandra. I want to respect your time. I appreciate you giving your insight on your business and on what you do, because this is so unique. I love it, and you're helping people like find true love, and that's amazing.
That's the goal. Find true love and also find so much self-love regardless of who they're with, and share that, so thank you so much. It was so much fun to chat.
Yes, me too.